Okay.
Ready?
Ready?
Oh, of course.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Five, four, three, two.
Good evening and welcome to the Drive at 5 on intellectualradio.com/iHeart radio station. I'm your host, Roman. We have a great show planned for you today, but first, the forecast from our intellectualradio.com weather center. Today, and the next several days, Mother Nature will provide us with her own air conditioning for a change to give us our own air conditioning, our rest. Today, partly sunny, pleasant, high 74 degrees. Tonight, clear, low 65 degrees. Tomorrow, again, partly sunny, pleasant, high 80 degrees. Tomorrow night, clear, yes, clear, low 64 degrees. Wednesday, partly sunny, high 80 degrees. Thursday, partly sunny, less humid, high 83 degrees. And Friday, sunny, less humid again, high 85 degrees. The weekend, Saturday, partly sunny, warm, high 87 degrees, and then partly sunny, humid, high 87 degrees. The Drive at 5 is part of the Monday night lineup, starting with Dateable at 11 a.m., Deals Business at noon, Great Entrepreneurs at 6 p.m., New Black Leadership Coalition at 7 p.m., Dreammakers 365 at 8 p.m., and the Chronicles of Ram at 9 p.m. The Drive at 5 is also part of the fabulous 5 at 5, only on intellectualradio.com/iHeart radio station. Tonight, my guest is an author of his self-entitled book, Reflection on Identity Politics. Here is why identity politics divides more than unites. Please give a Drive at 5 welcome to Germinal G. Van. Welcome to the Drive, sir.
Thank you, Roman. Nice meeting you too. It's my first time here, and it's a pleasure.
Okay, let's see about that after the interview.
Sure.
Please give the Drive at 5 on intellectualradio.com/iHeart radio station your background.
So I was born and raised in the Republic of Côte d'Ivoire. I moved to in the United States at age 20 in 2010 with a student visa, and I studied political science at the Catholic University of America in Washington, D.C. In 2014, I got my bachelor's degree, and then I studied a master's degree at the George Washington University. I studied political management, and since then I became a writer. But before being a writer, I tried to go to law school, and it didn't work for me. And I realized that since it wasn't the right path, I decided to write, and so far, so good.
So, why law school didn't work for you?
Well, it didn't work because the LSAT was tough. I took the LSAT 3 times, and I didn't get the score that I was hoping for, and so I decided to write instead.
And it turns out great because you got a total of 5 books, right?
Yes, indeed, yeah.
So, what was the inspiration to write political books?
So, first of all, I love writing. It's a passion that I have from day one. But political books because I study politics. I breathe politics. I think politics. I always...
Where was the start of eating, breathing, and thinking about politics? Did it start from your country? Or?
Yes, it did, yeah. It started in 2008. That's when I started having political aspirations. Before, I perfectly remember I wanted to even be president of my country. That was the main goal, and that's why I even came to the US to study politics and then go back. But of course, circumstances change, and I appreciate life in the US, and I decided to be part of it.
Period.
Yeah. Yeah, no, basically, yeah. Like I enjoyed more the opportunities that I have in this country compared to going back home, and that's why I decided to make it mine and contribute to it.
So tell us a little bit about your reflection on identity politics in comparison to the other books. Why is that your heavily favorite?
Because it's controversial. The first books, they were more like narrative. You know, you just talk. It's more like it's closer to a lecture of political science. This one, it's more of an opinion that I'm writing, of course, based on credible sources and facts. And the point was to challenge the conventional wisdom that is, in my opinion, that is driving to the far left. And I saw especially with
Okay, you're defining the far left.
yeah.
Define the far left in your opinion, because a lot of people say, okay, the tree is far left. You say, nah, it's not far left.
So what I mean by far left is basically progressive ideas, progressivism in America. So basically, progressivism in America has become the fact that we judge the value of an individual based on his physical appearance, based on his ethnic background, rather than based on his ability, skills, and talent. So basically, we start giving preferential treatment to others simply because they look some type of way, compared to giving a fair and preferential treatment to someone that deserves that because of the work he has produced.
Have you looked at some of the aldermen lately in Chicago with politicians? Do you think that's an accurate description?
No, I mean you strictly focus on Chicago. I'm talking broadly
Oh, come
about
on,
the
man.
United
Are
States.
you look at some of the people that you're like, if you go off looks,
Mhm.
if you go off physique, you got to
No,
be like, are
but-
you kidding me?
But what I mean by physique, it's mostly your ethnic background, like you could be black or Hispanics, or you can be straight or gay or bisexual and stuff like that. That's what I mean. Like they use your identity as the decisive factor to determine your worth, and that's what I do not agree with.
But there's sometimes your own people decide that.
What do you mean
Yeah.
your own people?
Well, what I'm saying is you're saying ethnic background.
Mhm.
What I'm saying is it's kind of like, okay, let's say the black community, for
Mhm.
example. Okay, they're very judgmental.
Yes.
Okay,
Mhm.
judgmental. Now you can say that to the whites as well. So what is the determining factor to say, okay, I want to choose you over him? It's not necessarily the ideology or the policy. It's basically you're saying it's because of the look, the talent, or the swag.
No, not at all. So let me take the example of preferential policy, so affirmative action.
Mhm.
So we have a lot of schools, especially Ivy League schools. They are lowering their academic standards so that they can have students of colors. The intention is good, but the problem with that
And you're talking about, I mean, to be specific,
Yeah.
you're talking about places like higher education, such as Harvard, Stanford, and
UPenn,
stuff
yeah,
like
places
okay,
like that, yeah.
Go ahead.
So basically, they lower the standards so that they can admit more students of colors. It doesn't mean that students of colors are not smart or anything, but they're mismatching them. Because you admit someone that has lower academic credentials into into a place that has higher credentials, and that person has trouble to follow.
But I don't think, I think that's kind of inaccurate. The reason why I'm saying that is
Mhm.
because I think they're doing it, especially academics, they're doing it because of financial reasons, not necessarily because of academics.
No, they're doing for quotas, because if they accept a certain number of student of color based on, of course, so their skin color or their sexual orientation, those schools also get subsidies from the state. That is the reason why, because if they do not, the state will cut the funds on them. Because yes, Ivy Leagues are all private schools, but they still partially receive some subsidies from the state, whether it's the state or the federal government too. So it plays a huge role. I personally rather go to, let's say I'm not a brilliant student, and I'm actually not. So let's say that my LSAT score worth, for instance, going to Thomas Cooley Law School rather than Harvard. at least at Cooley Law School, I could be among the first, among the top of the class. But if I apply to Harvard Law School, simply because I am black, they will pick me, sure, but I may be at the bottom of the class because they accept me based on my race or on my sexual orientation rather than my academic credentials.
But that's not necessarily true, because according to some statistics, they will not pick an African American male. They will pick an African American female.
That's not true. That's not true
How
because
is it not true? Because they fit the quotas of every demographic. The reason why I'm saying that is because if you look at the corporate world, okay, who you see there, more than likely inching up the ladder, you will see more of an African American female than you do of an African American male, because the female fits majority of the demographic versus the black male.
you do have a point, but it's not completely valid. And the reason why is because if, for instance, I take the example of Clarence Thomas. Clarence Thomas, of course, Supreme Court Justice of the United States. He was the only black person of his class at Yale.
People don't consider him black. I'm
Yeah.
just being honest.
No, I mean, they may not consider him black because of the way he thinks, but at the end of the day, his skin color is black. And that's how Yale saw him when they admitted him into the program. He had good grades,
But
they
he
did
doesn't
not.
consider himself black.
How do you know that? Did you talk to him and he told you that he doesn't?
No, but that's in his book. He doesn't look at himself as a black person.
But he sees himself as an individual, but that's his right, that's his choice.
That's his right, that's his choice.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, when you check on a census,
Mm-hmm.
you got to pick a color. And I'm sorry, but that's,
Yeah, but
that's the reality. What you're going to say,
No, but
I just want to
no,
be individual.
No, I
I'm
disagree.
independent.
I disagree. Clarence Thomas may not be black psychologically or intellectually, but physically he is, and he knows he's a black man. He got to Yale Law School based on his physical appearance rather than his grades. Although he did have good grades when he went to Yale, but they pick him because they need to diversify the student body. And that's the thing that I disagree with, mostly with affirmative action. The intention is good, but pick people based on the grades, not based on how they look, because you have to fit a quota. And
But everyone
affirmative
does
action
that.
also goes all the way to the workplace. It's not just at schools. It goes all the way to the workplace. Even with women, like they say, oh, we need that amount of women in the workplace so that we can diversify the body. Yeah, but what about her skills? What about her skills? People do not value skills anymore. They rather value the way you look or your upbringing, so that we consider that we are a diverse place. That's as I say, like, I do understand the intention, but it's not the right way to do it. Select people based on
What is the right way to do it?
the right way to do it is simply to select people based on their skills, based on their attributes, what they can bring effectively to the job they have to do. That's what it's about.
Okay, but if it doesn't work for white America, why you think it will work if everything is fair game?
Wait. What do you mean if it doesn't work for white America? Can you
Because
elaborate?
okay, let me put it this way.
Mhm.
Okay, let's say Mark,
Mhm.
who's white,
Mhm.
his father
Mhm.
is a bigwig at corporate America. Okay, Mark needs a job. Dad, can I get a job? Yes, Mark. He goes right in. When Shaquita needs a job at the Burger Shack down there, are you going to say, don't hook her up? What I'm saying is, if it's good for them on their side, why is it not good on our side?
All I'm saying is that you should, even Martin Luther King said it himself. I want my kids to be judged on the content of their character. What I'm saying
But
is,
Dr. King also said that in order to pull somebody from their bootstraps, you got to provide them boots first.
yes.
So where's the boots?
What I'm saying is that everyone do have skills. But when you pick someone simply based on the way they look or the way they're coming from, you don't do that person any good at the end of the day. To be honest, you don't do any good at the end of the day. Because people, for example, who go to Ivy League school based on affirmative action policies, even when they get into corporate America and stuff, the corporations that they're working for, they have to basically slow the output so that those can catch up. And of course, this is stuff that they will not come and tell you in your face, like, oh, this because they're afraid of how you're going to take it.
Well, it goes back to, you mentioned Dr. King.
Yeah.
Dr. King marched in Marquette Park to showcase the dilapidated living conditions African Americans were living in the 60s. He marched and he got hit with a brick. And basically he said he marched through Georgia, Montgomery, every racist place that you can imagine. But Chicago is far from the promised land. And it still stands true today. And the reason it stands true is because it's kind of like, you heard of the OJs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you remember that song, Backstabbers? They smile in your face, all the while you don't get no place, the black stabbers?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. Pretend those are white people. And they'll say, yeah, Germinal, we can do this, buddy. We can do that, buddy. Come on, Germinal, we can do it. And then, no, we don't want to, no, we don't need his kind in here. Behind your back.
Mm-hmm.
Tiffany Haddish said the same thing. She had this technique about her cell phone. And she said she would leave it purposely to find out why she's not getting the part. She was too ethnic, too ghetto, too this, too that. So what I'm trying to convey here is, even though your philosophy have some merit, but I don't think it's the overall picture that defines like the
identity politics.
Of
course, no. This is just one. It's basically one branch. It's not just affirmative action. There's also the whole idea of progressivism. So basically, which leads more toward, I would say, an excess of individual liberties. I mean, I'm a libertarian and I'm in favor of individual liberties, of course. But to what extent the freedom of the other person may harm me, or my freedom may be adversarial to them.
So you're a libertarian.
Yes, I am.
Define libertarian for us, because some people say libertarians have similar ideologies than Republican Party. Is that accurate?
No, to an extent. To an extent, yes. Especially when it comes to economic philosophy, they both lean towards small government. We don't want the state to be involved in economic affairs as well as social affairs, if we can. So yes, but when it comes now to the social part, Republicans, that's where Republicans and Libertarians, for instance, differ. Libertarians are more into, they're more in support of open borders, for instance. They don't like wars. They're more into peace and negotiation, while Republicans rather, go to war if they have to, and they kind of enjoy doing it.
But here's the problem that I have.
Yeah.
Okay, and maybe you can help me out.
Okay.
Okay, there are some libertarians. Remember, Ron Paul was a libertarian before he became a Republican.
He has never been a Republican, actually. He just used the Republican as a vehicle because he wanted to be president.
But Bernie Sanders did the same thing.
I mean, he's doing the same thing right now. He's a socialist, but he's running as a Democrat because otherwise he can't really be on the ballot. You see what I'm saying, though?
Yes. Yeah. Okay, so here's the thing. Libertarians, in some of the philosophy, and maybe you can help me understand, handouts. Republicans call, government assistance, Medicaid, they consider that, let's say, handouts for just.
Don't you think they are handouts?
No, I don't.
Tell me what.
Okay, I don't think it's handouts. I think we all need a leg up in society. Now, if you rephrase the question, have people abused the system? I will also agree with you. But let me put it this way: when it comes to, like, they label everything now, and I think that's wrong. That's just my opinion.
No, of course.
That's just my
Of course
opinion. So when someone says, I'm going to hand you, man, I'm going to hand you this book. Man, that's on fire, what you have written. I'm going to hand it to you. So do you consider what you're giving me, the book, a handout?
No, but
Why you don't think it's a handout? Because you're giving it for free.
no, because I chose to give it to you for free. I chose.
Okay, but here's the philosophy of that. Okay? There's a connection with that. The connection is, number one, no matter how you look at it, you're publicizing a book.
Mhm.
The book is, I'm going to give it to a host so I can get on his show.
Okay.
Then, afterwards, he can probably, like, pub it. So I can get generating sales. Now, where the handouts come in is you think people just, here you go, here's some Medicaid for you, here's a link for you. That doesn't necessarily how it goes. You have to fill out, sometimes it's a booklet of an application.
No, I'm definitely aware of that.
And with the application process, there you go. And you say, you give, there's a give and take. Some people are being denied, some people are not. What you think?
I do not. Here's the thing. I believe that the welfare state, generally speaking, it's a system of handouts. Yes, I do believe it, because let's go from the principle that the state can only give to Peter what he takes away from Paul. Those who receive those entitlements, they receive it because the state has taken it from somebody else. Welfare itself is not a bad thing in its own, but the problem is that when you use the government to provide, that's where the issue comes. You see what I'm saying? If we can provide public goods through the market, no problem. Let's do it. There, for instance, there's some airports that are privatized now. The one in France, Charles de Gaulle Airport, is actually privatized, although it's a public good. Everyone using airplanes and stuff like that. I don't know if you heard of the universal basic income that Andrew Yang has been promulgating.
I'm familiar with it, but can you, since you mentioned it, can you define it for us?
So the universal basic incomes is basically that the government gives a set amount of money to every individual living in the United States. And that amount of money, so according to Andrew Yang, he says it's $1,000. But on the other hand, there is no welfare benefit at all. That's the exchange. So you get $1,000 every month, but there's no welfare benefit. So I'm in favor of that because it will force you to be responsible about that money. You have to be smart about how you're going to spend that money. Now, to come back to the first principle I said, when I said that the state can only give to Peter what he takes away from Paul. Paul has been working hard to earn his money. And then you come, I say it's not you personally, but the state. You come and you use morality as a weapon to say that the other guy doesn't have anything, it's your fault, I'm going to tax you to give it to him.
But if
Wait, hold on.
History,
No.
That's exactly what's happening.
Where do you think poverty comes from? Do you think it's a
Poverty
curse?
comes from systemic racism.
Oh my God! Get the hell out of here! Are you kidding me?
It is.
Systemic racism. Do you know? Poverty is the norm. Wealth is not the norm.
Where did it come from?
The human race was born in poverty. The first human. Do you think they have buildings and stuff like that? Of course not. They produce. They go hunting, and whatever animal they hunt, they try to sell it, and they establish a market. Because and when you establish a market, that's when you start generating money.
Okay,
And you generate
now you're
wealth.
talking. Now you're talking about black in the era of Black Wall Street. That's exactly what they did. But
No, not at all. Not at all.
Black Wall Street, they did that.
No.
In the late 1800s, they started from nothing, and you just defined it right there. They used Miss Mary knows how to sew. She was the tailor. Miss Johnson over there was a baker. Now, they put their economic innovation towards the innovation.
But that's how you create wealth. But you make it sound like you make it sound like poverty is something so abnormal. Like, oh my God, no. There were people.
I did not say that.
No. Let me take the case of Oprah Winfrey. We all love Oprah, right?
Okay.
I don't think she was born poor. She was born rich. I mean, she was born poor. She even tried to become a journalist. She got denied it.
Majority of people are born poor.
But that's the point. That's the point. The point is.
But they had something to put. It's kind of
no,
like this. No. Hold on.
It is
because
you have the personal responsibility to change your socioeconomic condition.
Okay, but here's the problem, and we're gonna have you come back here because we're gonna have to finish this.
Oh,
argument
absolutely.
Here. So
absolutely.
When yeah, take a swallow of it, buddy. But here we go. What I'm
here
saying
for you,
is,
man. Whenever.
Yeah. So, okay, tell them how they can get your book.
So my book is basically available on Amazon.com. So yeah, anyone can go online and purchase it, basically. Yeah.
Okay, so see, I'm not a bad guy.
No, you're not a bad guy at all. I'm actually delighted that we disagree, so we can have a conversation. If we all agree, I guess we all kind of stupid, right? We need to disagree. No, it's of course.
I'm gonna have you back so I can.
No, it's very.
So when we come back on the drive back,
yeah.
because your books will be featured on Black products, Black
Sure.
services. We're gonna hook you up with that so you can advertise your book so people can.
Okay.
You can advertise as much as you want. When we
No
come
problem.
back on the Drive at 5 on intellectualradio.com/iHeart radio station, a former IT specialist turned entrepreneur. When we come back on the Drive.
Oh my God, Roman. That was heated, huh? Yeah.
Are you doing?
Yes.